Hi everyone, welcome back. Unfortunately, it's now the off season. If you are new to the channel or a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Please consider subscribing if you have not already. It would help me out so much, you have no idea, because the way that you get advertising revenue and all this other stuff off of YouTube is based off of subscriber numbers and watch hours and all this other stuff. So if you just subscribe and watch without sending me a dime, that helps me a lot. We're trying to get to the point where maybe Google will pay for a tire once a year, maybe, if that. But anyway, as you can see by the opener of the video, yes, it is the off season, and my dehumidifier is running. Let me go this way. As you can see by the opener of this video, yes, in fact, it is the off season. It is now October, I don't remember, 15th probably, as of whenever I'm filming this. So I'm trying to walk through my garage and take a look at all the stuff that needs to go and find a place, basically. I have a generator sitting over here. I've got an empty fuel drum. Like, I've got a lot of stuff that's just kind of in the way, and I really need to find a place for it. Plus, the biggest of all, I've got to winterize this, so I don't want it to freeze up or crack or rust. That's why I run a dehumidifier in my shop, is so that it can at least try to keep it dry in here. And I've noticed it really helps a lot, especially when I don't really have a lot of insulation. I mean, I got some here, but basically it's just mouse houses at this point, and it stops here. So this part all the way back here, including the roof, is not insulated. It's not really sealed up. This is basically just a shed at this point, but it's all I got. I'm gonna fix as necessary. But in my last video, I got this area kind of cleaned up a little bit. I got tires for Thompson and Stafford. All the rest of the late model tires are in the other shed. I got this engine sitting here that I won 3 races in 2017 with, but we don't run open motors no more. We run crates. So I need to find a home for that, which it might have to go back to my brother's, and it might have to go into another project that I've been putting off on this channel for years and years and years, but just because I've been racing. So anyway, I was gonna go outside and start loading up all that scrap metal and crap at the end of the year, but my entire family has COVID right now, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel like I'm starting to get it. So I don't want to do too much work and overdo it and be wheezing on the ground hoping for air, but I think we can at least start cleaning up in here and start fogging this motor down and getting that thing oiled up just enough for it to not rust on me, because we have big plans for this car. And let me tell you about those. As of right now, I have no plans at all for the future. Everything is wide open. This car right now is probably going to get stripped to the bare chassis and interior. I got to take the body off, all the suspension, all the drive line, and we're going to strip it down to essentially a bare chassis as much as possible so that we can take it and put it on my crew chief Joe's jig, because he has a jig for a stock frame G chassis car. And I'm very curious to see how that goes, because I guarantee you this old car, because this thing's been through a lot if you know the history of this car, but we got a fresh front clip put on it in, I want to say, about 15, probably about 2015, because my brother's car broke and he was in the points, and I let him use this, and somebody oiled down the top side of turn 2 at Thompson, and he got really bad sideways and then planted the thing into the turn 2 wall and wrecked the front clip. So we got a fresh front clip on it, but again, the car's been wrecked and rebuilt about 6 ways from Sunday. It's even been rolled over twice and rebuilt after that. And I reclipped the rear with no jig, so we all know that's screwed, even though it seems to be okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this car and put it on that jig and see if it's straight. But, I mean, we got to get there first. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to go. But I am also very well prepared if it goes bad, because I don't think that this car is straight. And I am the biggest waffler in history because I still have the late model. It's still sitting in my trailer. I put some antifreeze in it just so it wouldn't freeze if it gets a little chilly out. I'm still going to have to winterize it. I gotta pull the rockers and take tension off and fog it and make sure the motor's all clean. But for now, I want to leave it as in running condition as possible. So that's why I just put antifreeze in it. And just because I need to be able to move it. If I want to put this thing in the trailer when I get it stripped down to absolute bare nothing, I got to be able to move that car around. So I don't want to push it, and I don't want to tow it, and I don't have a lawnmower that's capable of dragging it around right now because both of them are dead. So those are going to the scrap heap. So the scrap video is going to have to wait, but this thing is getting torn down. It has to get fixed. It has to get looked at. I need to know what I'm running with. I changed the rear clip in the car. In case you're a new viewer, or even somebody who has been watching me the whole time, here's a refresher. Up here in the corner, I'll probably stick the link for at least the first episode of when I cut the rear clip out of this car and put in a new rear clip. I will be honest with you all. I don't know if it's really straight, even though it measured straight. All the datum points measured straight. The wheelbase measured exact. When I had it on level height blocks, it should be straight. But again, who knows? It is very sensitive to changes, and it is actually, it has a lot more bite at Stafford than at Thompson. So I think we might have figured something out there, but we might have to move it over to it if we go to Thompson again. Either way, I cut the clip out of this car as a refresher if you haven't seen it. But again, go look at those videos if you haven't. But what I'll show you is there's a gap in between the rear tire and the frame. And on this side, there used to be a huge gap, and there used to be no gap on this side. Now you can see that they're actually very even. And I just, I don't think the car is really the problem, but again, I really, really want a new chassis because I've never had one, and there might be a few different options for me to get one. Again, I'm not ruling out getting rid of the late model, but with Thompson coming back next year, ooh, that's tempting. That is really tempting. But again, I've been struggling for so long, and I just don't have the room for two cars, and I might have to take the dream and just say, you know what? We can't do it. Just be an adult and say, well, we got to stick with one thing, and this is that one thing. And I would love, just absolutely love to get a brand new car because I've never raced a brand new car. I've never had one. My brother's had one in his whole career, and that career stems like 25 years. I think he's had one. That was it. And I've never had one. So we'll see what happens on the jig. But again, we got options. Maybe somebody will trade me for that late model. Maybe somebody will just buy the late model so I can just buy a new chassis. Who knows? But again, that's all for the future. So for now, we got to start stripping this thing. And starting with fogging the engine. And I don't know if I really want to do that with my lungs right now. So I might have to put that off a week. But we can at least start on everything else, like maybe the body, wheels, tires, finding a place for stuff. I really wanted to get the scrap metal done, but every second that I stand here, I feel wheezier and like more and more out of breath. So this might be a short video. Anyway, let me get some Dunkin' Donuts in me and we'll get to work again. All right, I decided I'm just gonna fog the engine, the heck with it. There we go. Marvel Mystery Oil. Oh, that's gonna fall over. Boy, remember that idea if you're from Eastern Connecticut? Anyway. Yes, there we are. Oh, where's the lid to it? Oh, well, I don't really have a lot left. Maybe I'll have to go get some. But I got this marine fogging oil. I think you can use WD-40 just to spray into the cylinders. But what I do is I fire the car up, get the air cleaner off, and I just take this Marvel Mystery Oil and just lightly dump it down both barrels of the carburetor and let the thing smoke until it basically shuts off. And then I loosen all the valves, take all the spark plugs out, and then I spray this into it. But with how little there is in here, I might have to go get some or use the 15 cans of WD-40 that I seem to have, because I got like this one and this one and this one and this one. So we'll see what happens. On second thought and researching on the internet, I will not be using my WD-40. There we go. Because apparently the layer of oil is too thin and it doesn't cover as good. So I guess I'm just gonna have to go to Napa and get me some fogging oil. I found a little alternative. I got this Seafoam top cleaner, top engine cleaner and lubricant. Apparently you can use this as a fogger as well. Or I'll just, if I have any Marvel left, maybe I can walk next door to the Dollar General, just buy more because they have it on the shelf. I got an eyedropper. Like if you have children, hang on, let me go see if I have one. Yes, these disgusting things. I saved this from when my kid was a baby. But what I do is, if I run out of fogging oil, I can take a little tiny hose and stick it over this and just kind of run it down into the cylinders and just some Marvel Mystery Oil straight into it. And then I just keep all the spark plugs out and just roll the engine over a couple times and then do it again and make sure it coats everything. And that's after I run it down the neck of it too. So I think I might just walk next door to the Dollar General, grab another thing of Marvel Mystery Oil and just have at it. That's better. I'd say that's pretty fogged. Why am I yelling? You can hear me through smoke. All right, let's let that air out. I got my furnace fan and a shopping cart doing some work. Hopefully that'll air out quickly and we can get back in there to work. It really smells like thick Marvel Mystery Oil. Wonder why. So here's my little setup. I got my Marvel bottle sitting here with the lid off. I bought a brand new one from Dollar General. Luckily you can get this stuff pretty much anywhere. And I got my eardropper sucker or whatever, 9000, and I put a piece of like windshield washer tubing or vacuum tubing on the end. Just gonna stick it in there, suck some up, put it in a cylinder, spray away. Once I do all of them, I'm gonna leave all the spark plugs out and rotate the engine over by hand just to get it circulating through and get it soaking in the rings. Maybe I'll even do it again once I get it stopped. And then I'll take the headers off, and I might take a little bit more and pull this tube off and just kind of stick it down inside each exhaust port, just so that the oil can sit in the valve, or the exhaust valve. And then when that's shut, because I'm going to undo all of the rockers first, and then I'll take some duct tape and just stick it over the exhaust valves, because I'm pretty sure the engine's coming out anyway because everything else is coming out, so that we can check the chassis. So that's how I winterize engines. cylinder where I have, or not the cylinder, but you know, the cylinder head, where I have sprayed some Marvel Mystery Oil and the exhaust valve is closed so that it will protect the valve seat, and it should also protect the cylinder after I've already sprayed it into the spark plug holes as well. So hopefully that will keep the engine fogged and clean. And I was thinking about pulling the carburetor off and taking the little tube and just kind of running it down each runner just to get the intake valves as well. You just want your valve seats to not get burnt, not get rusty, not have any sort of imperfections. That way your motor will last a long time, especially up north here where, well, you can see the leaves turning color. So the next thing that I do, once I get all of the oil put in and I fog it and I do all that stuff, cover all of the ports, put the spark plugs back in. I'm not going to reuse those. I'll probably use those to get the car fired back up when I de-winterize it next year, is we drain the water. In the engine, I know that I've showed this on a video before, but in the engine you'll see down here, there's going to be a little port, probably right there. It's on both sides. It's at the very bottom of the casting for the water jackets. You're going to pull those two out. You're going to drain the radiator. Luckily, this radiator has a petcock in it. That makes my life 10 times easier because I can just pop one of the caps off and just let that thing drain as much of that out as possible. It won't spill all over the damn place. So I'll get that going until that basically stops. And luckily that one is actually at the very bottom of the radiator, which is super nice. Sometimes they're like this far up off of it, leaves a little bit in the radiator. I don't like that. So what I do is when I winterize engines, I just drain the water out of the block on those two sides and out of the radiator, and then I don't put anything else back in. Because how's it going to freeze if there's no water in the radiator or the engine? It can't, because there's nothing there. And never had a problem with it since. Thanks to TikTok, I wonder if I can get these buckets apart because they are stuck. Hey, that does work. Holy crap. I couldn't pull that apart to save my life. And now the handle's kind of catching, but that works like a charm. Thank you, TikTok and random videos. So guys, I have a problem. And it's not the fact that my videos are really boring and that's why I don't get any views, because I don't do anything other than like, oh, watch me winterize a race car. My problem is storage. And I have to, if I'm stripping this car down, I have to figure out a way and a place to put all these parts when I'm done. And I think I figured it out. I went searching through my basement. Apparently I had a few of these hanging around. Just a bunch of cheap plastic racks from Harbor Freight. But I also have this area here underneath my TV where it's just a generator that I never use, and it's gigantic and it takes up a whole bunch of room. The racing, well, I should say the race coilovers for the late model, some lead weights, and some other junk that's just like scrap metal that I keep just in case I need small pieces or sections or whatever in a bucket. And then on this side, I've got just wood blocks and like the skid plate out of the late model. And like, that's it. Oh, there's my sweep magnet. I was looking for that. Anyway, so I figure my shed next to the house, which is right here on this other side of the wall, is pretty much open enough. I've cleaned it out enough that I probably could get that generator the heck out of here and put it in the shed. And then I can take that shelf over there and just kind of stick it right here, move these coilovers to somewhere where I'm holding late model parts, or maybe I'll just put them on top of the shelf, and then we can have some storage space. I think that'll work. I'm going to give it a shot. Okay, I think I'm going to call it a day, even though it is still light out, but I haven't gotten any scrap metal put in the truck. But I'm glad I waited because I found a bunch of stuff I didn't want anymore. That was scrap, and so that's outside. You notice it's a little different. I did move these shelves that were here over into that slot over there. It also moves back a little bit, so that gives me a little more room. I found a whole mess of stuff on the shelves that I just don't use, like old log manifolds and exhaust components and intakes and stuff like that I just don't use. Like, I got this stock intake here. If anybody wants this, by the way, please DM me. It is a factory spread bore aluminum GM intake for small block Chevy. This is just a aluminum water pump that I robbed the back off of because my good water pump, well, rotted out. So I got a bucket for that. I took all that stuff out. This shelf is essentially empty now. I got a bunch of spindles I got to put away. And this shelf is empty now, which, again, I'm still trying to figure out where to put stuff. So there's only really that bucket and that bucket full of stuff. And then there's this stuff that I'm tripping over. But if I can get that stuff all moved around and maybe even organized in specific categories and stuff, that would be great. But I got to get rid of this stuff. I got a lot of stuff I don't use that's clogging up my mix here. And maybe I can get it sold at the flea market. I don't know. It's coming up awful quick. I don't think I have enough time to put something together for that. But we got everything else put in here. And I got to get all this crap out of here. It's just never ending. But, you know, when the spring and summer comes around and you're busy all the time, you kind of just overlook things and put things wherever they can go in some spots. And then you find out at the end of the year, oh, geez, you know, now the whole place is full of crap and I don't know where anything is or where anything goes. So, like I said, I got to make room. I got to get rid of this engine. It's been sitting here. I don't have a use for it yet. I mean, I do, but I don't at the same time because everything around here runs crate motors now. So I got a use for it. So I got transmissions outside that need to come in. I've got this barrel that's empty. Again, I'm beat. I've been out here all day. I haven't even showered yet. I think I'm going to clean up the rest of the stuff that needs to come in and go inside and cook a really crappy frozen pizza. Maybe I'll be out here tomorrow. So it's the next day. It's actually kind of late into the next day. It's actually like 2:30. I've been out here for quite a while. Just doing a lot of work, rearranging and trying to get the fuel tank drained out and stuff. And, you know, it doesn't feel like I made a lot of progress, but I actually have. Maybe not here so much. Like, all this is pretty much the same. All this is pretty much the same. It starts to change here. I moved some stuff out of here. And I'm currently working on reorganizing stuff. I got a lot of rags and stuff up here, like old bed sheets and t-shirts and junk. Here's where we start making some progress. Now, I'm trying to section things off in categories, like specific rear ends, like 9-inch or 9-inch or GM 7.5 or whatever the case may be, as well as transmission stuff and bearings and U-joints and Ford 9-inch parts. And I got a spot where I could move this bin from there up to there because I moved. We'll show you later. Then I got all my springs. They actually all fit now. I still don't have a place for the rear. I got no idea. Moving around this way, I don't know. Again, I don't really know how interesting this is to people, but, you know, this is what's going on. I'm starting to put more stuff on the shelves. I got like WD-40 and paint stripper and different other weird paint chemicals and such. And I found my box of blades for my chop saw, which is awesome. I hung this up so that now I can start putting, you know, just kind of little piddly things hanging around on it and start using shelves. Now, I seem to have reached the point where I have more storage that I actually can use. So I got underneath here and I pulled all these bins out and I was able to go in the back there and find a whole bunch of termite damage and structural issues. So I'm sure that the garage will fall onto me at some point. But, oh, I found that dustpan and broom. I blew it all out with the gun, the air blower gun, I mean. And obviously I've got a lot of stuff on the bench that needs to be, you know, worked out and put away, but I do have room for that now. This is where it gets different because, well, I don't have a place for my scrap metal bin. I have moved these shelves from over there to over here because I moved the generator out, which now gives me a heck of a lot more room on the left side of the car. I also put up a shelf that I found in the basement, which I'd mentioned. I moved this box from over there to over here, which is a bunch of engine parts and ignition parts and stuff that I use for this car. I moved some brake parts cleaner over here, got, you know, random parts I don't know what to do with, and stock engine parts that I got to get rid of. A battery for the winch, the battery jump box, and all my spindles and stuff. I moved a box full of old engine parts that I don't use anymore and log manifolds and junk. I put that all over here. Those late model jack stands, my toolbox in the same place. But I also have a lot of shelves that are now empty on here. So I've been putting late model parts and other things that I can't use. The bottom shelf and a half is open. I keep finding exhaust components and engine components and other stuff to just find places for. Over here I got my 4-barrel that I never use. I got different intakes, cooling parts, brake parts, and other plumbing items and gauges. And like I said, all my lead weights are under there somewhere. I got this one I got to put away and this one here. And like I said, we're just making progress. I mean, this is the time to do it when it's just warm enough out to keep the door open and get that scrap metal loaded up and cleaned out. It's when you have time to start cleaning up. And obviously the car is getting pulled apart right now. I have to pull the radiator out, the engine and transmission out. But right now, cleaning is kind of job one, because I'm going to need a place to put all of the stuff that I take off of this car, because I don't have place for it. Like, I need a place to put the spindles, the uppers, the lowers, the shocks, the sway bar, the radiator, the engine, transmission, rear end, rear suspension components, fuel cell, body. I don't know where that's going to go at this point. I've probably got to get rid of the late model first or do whatever I'm going to do with that. But we have to have a clean shop that's reorganized and ready to go so that we can actually get this thing torn down and have it a place for it. We need a place for stuff. So I can't just throw everything in the trailer, which I'd like to do, because this needs to go in it and it's currently occupied. So we're up to basically pulling parts off at this point. And it is a long process when you're by yourself, I'll tell you that. Okay, disaster barely averted. I forgot that I was siphoning the fuel cell out using this very tiny hose that I put down into the pickup tube, because that's pretty much all I could find. My Harbor Freight ball valve siphon, the valve is fine, but the hose is rock solid, and when you try to bend it, it cracks. So can't use that. So I had this down under here, and yeah, I stopped that on time. That got pretty close. So let me just make sure, yep, that's tight. That's good. So luckily, the last of the fuel that I siphoned out of the tank was only like, geez, like a gallon. So I siphoned out of the tank probably 6-7 gallons of fuel. That one was already full. So the tank is now drained. That can come out. All the lead weights can come out. Basically everything can come out. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I just kind of want to throw a video out there for you. And this one might not be as full of content as I really want, because I'm not really doing a hell of a lot. And that sucks. But like, I took a little bit of a break after the last race because I just wanted to. After the season was over, I need to collect my thoughts. I need to kind of get my mind together and think about what I'm going to do. And I think I have the answer. It's just kind of sitting right in front of me the whole time. And it's not the one that my ego and my desire really wants to make, but I think I've made that choice. But there's a lot of work to to go into the future, and we got to get there first. So I think I might end it off here, and then I'll just go into another video of me saying, all right, well, this is what I do as a single race car driver, and well, not single in that sense, a single team member kind of deal. But I think I'll just put this out as some kind of post-season teaser kind of video for you guys. So thank you all so much for watching and sticking in there with me. Trust me, like I said, there's a lot more stuff coming, and not all of it's racing related, and not all of it's diesel truck related either. Let's be fair. I have genuine plans in the future for some pretty cool stuff, but like I said, we got to get there first. And I'm not one of those gigantic hotshot YouTubers who can use the channel to just fund whatever the hell project I want. I don't have hundreds of thousands of subscribers and getting a few bucks here and there that I can pay a few bills on and say, hey, let me throw, you know, $3,000 at a project car and build it in the woods and make it run and drive and then sell it for a profit and, you know, keep going like that. I can't do that because I don't have the base. I have a very loyal subset of subscribers who are into racing and doing it yourself, and I appreciate every single one of you. And man, I'll tell you what, I see some people with some subscriber numbers that are way bigger than mine, and their stuff is, pardon me for saying so out of turn, but not as good. I mean, yeah, kind of boring subject matter, but this is what the postseason is like as a short track racer, knowing that you don't have anything to look forward to until April, and we're not even to Halloween yet. So again, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. It helps me so much, and I'm not interested in the fame. I'm not interested in people knowing who I am. I'm just interested in sharing my adventures with people and maybe getting Google to, I don't know, buy a tire once a year maybe. Who knows? So again, I have a lot of plans for the future, and I have some very interesting and important projects coming. So hang in there. Trust me, there's stuff coming. There's a lot, maybe a lot more racing on the horizon, but thank you all for watching. This is the kickoff of the postseason, and if you were with me last year, you saw a lot of work get done. So keep your eyes peeled, and until next time.